Hello friends, today we are going to learn about the difference of critical and emotional thinking. Friends, as we know that human beings are emotional animal, we often think from our heart and generally like those things, believe on those things which pleases us, which gives us happiness, because happiness comes from our heart. But a critical thinker thinks from his mind. Because what may be looking very good now, what looks very pleasant now, may actually harm us in the long term and provide us much more pain in the long term than the pleasure that it provides immediately. So friends, let us understand the difference between critical and emotional thinking. Daniel Goleman, in his book of Emotional Intelligence, has very clearly said, in a very real sense, we have two minds, one that thinks and one that feels. In the normal parlance, the mind that feels is called heart, and what we think, that basically we generally associate with the brain, or just when we say thought. So this is a distinction which is made by the author of Emotional Intelligence, Daniel Goleman. But further proceeding, Nobel laureate Daniel Goleman, in his book Thinking Fast and Slow, he divides the mind process into two distinct systems. He has said that our minds work in two ways. Now, he did not mention heart and head or emotions or rational thinking, but similar things he has said. He said the first system is system 1, which basically operate automatically and quickly with little or no effort. All mental activities become fast and automatic through prolonged practice. Now this is precisely our emotional mind. Because of this emotional mind, we quickly take the decision. This is right or wrong, this is good or bad, without going much deeper into the merit of the issue. But this will also include those decisions which are not related to emotions. For example, system 1 will work when we are solving a mathematical problem. Because when we are solving a mathematical problem and we have practiced a large number of problems, intuitively we know how to solve the problem. Methods, formula, all those things come intuitively to us. In the same way, when we are driving a car, again system 1 is at work. Now this is not an emotional issue, but it is intuitive, because when we have practiced a lot car driving, then we can automatically know what is to be done with the accelerator, with the brakes, and with the steering. While in the beginning we have to think, but once we practice, it becomes automatic process. This is what is system 1, which is based on intuition as well as emotions. Now the system 2 process or system 2 mind is slower, effortful, analytical mode where reasons dominate, involves learned knowledge and skills during complex computation, makes decision after considering all facts and evidence after due analysis. Now this part of the mind basically think deeper into the issue. It try to analyze the things. Emotions don't come into picture here. Here we decide the things on the basis of reason, and that basically requires the learned knowledge and skill, including complex calculations. For example, if I ask you to calculate 1345 multiplied by 7489, now that is something which cannot be done by system 1. You have to use pen and paper, and you have to solve that problem. You have to follow the method, and then the system 2 will come into picture. So both the systems work in us, and they are basically, whenever we require quick solution, system 1 work. When we require deeper analysis, system 2 work. Now scientists have also found that our brain can be divided into two parts. They call it left brain and right brain. Left brain is basically the brain which is on the left side, but actually it represents the mind, thinking mind. Thinking mind. The right brain, we know that our heart is on the left side. So right brain basically is related to emotions or heart. So basically it is just the opposite of that. So left brain basically means rationality, while the right brain means emotions. So the left brain is logical, analytical, linear, verbal, factual, and sequential. That means it moves in one direction, gradually it does the thing. It is verbal because we explain the things in verbal manner. It is something which can be written in words. It based on fact. It is sequence. That means it follows one after another. On the other side, the right brain is something which is creative, intuitive, artistic. The artists use their heart very much or their emotions very much. It is non-verbal. That means we can't explain. For example, when you listen a song and like it, it is very difficult to explain as to why you like that song. Maybe somebody else will not like that song. So it is basically something which cannot be expressed into words. It is emotional and it is imaginative. That means it is based on your imagination rather than the facts. So let's now understand the activity of both parts of the brain separately. Now the right brain or the feeling mind, what it does, what is its function? It is based on instinct. That means something which comes spontaneously, something which is based on intuition. We are not applying much reason and logic. It is totally intuitional. Non-verbal, that means we can't sometimes explain that in words, and it is emotional. Now it is good at connecting the dots. That means when we are having a missing thing, missing link, it can quickly find out that. It finds patterns between unrelated activities and it is the source of creativity. If you have listened to the song, you must have seen how the two different things are connected. Eyes can be compared with sea. Face can be compared with moon. Anger can be compared with sun. Now that is something which we are comparing, and this is what is creativity. When we connect to two different type of fields and find a relationship between them, then basically that is creative effort. So whatever is missing, if something is incomplete, our emotional mind immediately fills that gap. It is partly inborn because it is created due to our evolution process. It helps us to survive and procreate. For example, fear, anger, lust, and jealousy. These are some of the instincts which we are born with. And if you remove these instincts, then perhaps we will not be able to survive. So these instincts are important for us to survive. These are inborn to us. But man is not only, it doesn't carry only those instincts which are inborn, but he also develops the instinct by his learning. Partly it is developed also, for example, through practice, help us develop intuition to solve complex problems of life like driving or mathematical problem or problems of physics or problems of taxation. You go into any field and work there for a long time, practice something for a long time, and you will develop an instinct gradually because that is coming from learning, and this is partly developed. And this is where the difference between an ordinary person and expert. The expert will have instinct based on his field because of his experience. And if something from his field come up, he will be able to come up with immediate answers because he has a lot of experience in that. For example, mathematics. When you are a good mathematics student, if a problem is given, you can immediately find the method and solve the problem. While the other person who has never studied mathematics will not be able to understand those problems or solve those problems. Another important thing we should understand is that any skill or knowledge which is learned becomes an instinct with practice. Suppose you learned anything, but if you don't practice, it will remain as a knowledge. It will be separate, it will not become an instinct. For example, if I learn a formula, sin square a plus cos square a is equal to 1. This is not going to add into my instinct in solving the problem. But suppose based on this formula, I solve a large number of problems. then it will become an instinct. And so this is something that every learned skill, like swimming or driving, these are all learned skills. But once we learn that and practice that for a long time, it become a instinct which we can call learned instinct. On the other side, we have left brain or the thinking brain. Now this brain is something which we have to develop. It is not something which we are born with. It is to be developed by acquiring knowledge and skill. And once we acquire a knowledge and develop a skill, then our thinking mind or thinking brain is developed. It also includes analytical ability, which is developed by understanding logic and reasoning. Now we are going to understand a lot of concepts of logic and reasoning. Unfortunately, most of the people don't learn that, and because they don't learn that, they will not be able to use the logic in the proper manner, and rather they will be governed by emotions. The scientific knowledge to understand the functioning of the physical world, this is again something which is a part of the left brain or the thinking mind, because science does not come to us naturally. And so whether something is scientific or not, that we will know only when we use our thinking mind. When we solve the real life problem using the knowledge which we have acquired, for that also we require thinking mind, because the problems are all unique, and partly we will be using the instinct, but partly we must also use our analytical ability to solve the problem. Our verbal ability, communication skill is also part of the thinking mind, which is developed by reading, writing, listening and communicating. So if you want to be a good communicator, if you want to express your thought very well, now that is something again an instinct which we have to acquire through practice. So friends, we are born with our emotional mind, but as far as the thinking mind is concerned, as far as the rational mind is concerned, we have to develop. If we don't develop those rational mind, we will continue to be an emotional child with an undeveloped mind. Friends, a young child manages with his right brain with his emotions. Because when you are born with only basic instinct, and that is cause of your emotions. But if you don't study, if you don't acquire the rational knowledge or the practical knowledge or the scientific knowledge, then you will be always depending upon the instinct and emotions for your decision making. Because none of the left brain activity, that is the thinking mind activity, is inborn or natural. It has to be developed with a lot of effort. So you have to learn the right knowledge and practice the application of that knowledge to develop your rational mind. If we don't put in so much of effort, in that situation what happens, that our left mind or our thinking mind will be weak, and then we will be taking more irrational decisions, because our decisions will be based on our emotions rather than reason. So what we will do once we develop critical thinking, when we develop critical thinking, we develop the rational mind or left brain. And once we develop that left brain, then our reliance on the emotional mind or the right brain will gradually reduce, and we will become a natural critical thinker and a natural rational decision maker. So friends, today we have learned that we are born with emotional mind, and rationality or the critical thinking is something which does not come naturally. If we want to develop critical thinking and take the best decisions, we have to master the tools of critical thinking, which we will discuss in our course. And once you develop that and use those tools, then you will develop a critical thinking mind and you will become a rational thinker. Thank you.